The purpose of this presentation is to present our research findings to the Oklahoma Messages Project.
We hope you find our findings and suggestions beneficial as you continue to assist the Oklahoma community.
The Oklahoma Messages Project has been serving the population of children who have an incarcerated parent for almost 7 years. The mission of the Oklahoma Messages Project is to serve children of incarcerated parents to maintain a healthy connection with parents and improve the child's social, emotional, and educational outcomes. The Oklahoma Messages Project strives to break the cradle-to-prison pipeline with its programs. The Oklahoma Messages Project promotes literacy and helps to improve the children of incarcerated parents' well-being. The nonprofit focuses on strengthening the relationships between the parents and children by focusing on developing the children in a positive manner. Crimson and Creativity researched data and conducted interviews in order to help the nonprofit distinguish how it can effectively communicate its message to its publics. Publics are an essential part of a nonprofit, and it is imperative that the Oklahoma Messages Project communicates with them. The Oklahoma Messages Project will be able to use the data that Crimson and Creativity collected to continue serving incarcerated parents and children in the state of Oklahoma. The Oklahoma Messages Project will be able to bring awareness to more publics in the state of Oklahoma by looking at the survey data and observing what components they will need to reevaluate. The nonprofit will also be able to increase awareness in communities, which will draw in more donors and volunteers.
The Oklahoma Messages Project is currently faced with an awareness problem that is rooted in limited external messaging that the nonprofit has used. Without proper awareness of the nonprofit, there is little potential for the Oklahoma Messages Project to recruit new volunteers, gain new donors and sponsors, spread their service to new prisons, or to get their name out to the community. For the purpose of this study, we use the following questions to aid our research. What is the current awareness of the nonprofit by external publics and the Oklahoma community? What is the current level of public social media engagement with the Oklahoma Messages Project across social media platforms? And what types of posts led to the most engagement? We believe there is a large gap in communication with external audiences. Improving external communications will lead to an increase in outside resources. Greater availability of quality information would be a significant improvement to the current state of public understanding.
Crimson and Creativity researched the Oklahoma Messages Project and the attitudes, perceptions, and behaviors of both its internal and external publics. These publics included volunteers, donors, board members, children, incarcerated parents, and caretakers or guardians. We conducted secondary research and then designed primary research methods that included focus group interviews, in-depth interviews, an internet survey, and social media content coding. Then we analyzed the data using t-tests, chi-squares, analysis of variance or ANOVA, descriptive data analysis, and frequency tables. This research took place over the course of the fall 2017 semester, both inside and outside of Dr. Moore's Public Relations Research class. Initially, the purpose of our research was to aid the Oklahoma Messages Project. As data were gathered and evaluated, it became clear that this information could be used to increase awareness and action among the nonprofit's publics. Crimson and Creativity conducted this research using 4 distinct methods of data collection. In-depth interviews with nonprofit stakeholders such as volunteers, donors, and board members provided us with primary qualitative research regarding those key publics. The interviews were conducted one-on-one, included confidentiality statements, and identified that attitudes about the Oklahoma Messages Project are high among internal publics. Focus group interviews with nonprofit stakeholders such as caregivers and incarcerated parents, another method of primary qualitative research, were conducted in the same manner as the in-depth interviews. They centered on 5 themes: perceptions of the Oklahoma Messages Project, satisfaction with the nonprofit and its services, relationship and involvement with the nonprofit, communication and media use by the nonprofit, and deterrence to or opposition faced by the nonprofit. These interviews revealed positive attitudes and lower than expected knowledge of the Oklahoma Messages Project. We created an internet survey to quantitatively measure the perceptions, attitudes, and behaviors of the nonprofit's external publics. The survey asked that participants be over the age of 18 and residents of the state of Oklahoma. More than 1,200 individuals responded, and we analyzed the data provided to learn that overall public awareness of the Oklahoma Messages Project is low. The attitudes toward it are positive. Last, we coded every third post on each of the nonprofit's social media platforms to understand how effective it is at relaying its messages and engaging with its audience. The results suggested that Facebook and Twitter are the most impactful platforms and that Instagram is the least impactful. Additionally, YouTube videos and other content should be cross-promoted to generate more audience engagement.
For the sampling, when it comes to the survey, the population of interest included Oklahoma residents who are 18 years of age or older. Out of 12,000 participants, 984 completed the survey. This yielded a 77% completion rate. Crimson and Creativity used the convenient sampling method, which according to Dr. Arlene Fink, gathers information from people who are willing to complete the survey and are also available when you need them. Crimson and Creativity decided that in-depth interviews were the best avenue to gather information from the involved stakeholders. Because this method focuses on understanding human experiences at a holistic level and provides qualitative data to be interpreted. The population of interest is generally defined as the population that a research group is drawing an inference about from collected data. Here, it is categorized as the stakeholders of the Oklahoma Messages Project, specifically its board members, donors, and volunteers. Crimson and Creativity also held in-depth interviews with caregivers. The Qualtrics survey that the entire public relations class sent out to Oklahomans who were 18 years of age or older provided over 12,000 responses for our questions that covered introduction and consent, knowledge, perception and semantic difference scale, attitudes, behaviors, demographics, based and universal questions, and conclusion. The entire public relations research class also gained insight from 30 total people who were interviewed over similar questions to the survey. These interviews consisted of 19 stakeholders and 11 caregivers to children of incarcerated parents. The independent variables consisted of the questions asked by the researchers in the survey and interviews, the form of communication used to contact the participants of the survey and interviews, and finally improving external communications, which in turn led to the dependent variables that consisted of answers from the interviewees and participants in the survey, the interviewees and participants not answering or answering the forms of communication used by the researchers, and finally an increase in outside resources. Through this research, Crimson and Creativity found that perceptions and attitudes regarding the Oklahoma Messages Project are significantly positive among individuals who are aware of the nonprofit. This is great for the internal communication of the nonprofit, but we wanted to learn about the nonprofit's external communications. 88% of survey participants did not know what kind of services the Oklahoma Messages Project offers. To answer our first research question, we found that when generalizing these statistics to the Oklahoma community, the majority of adults in Oklahoma are not familiar with the Oklahoma Messages Project. To answer our second research question, we looked to the results of the Qualtrics survey and found that participants are more likely to follow the Oklahoma Messages Project on Facebook over Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. To answer our third research question, we researched what engagements were received on previous posts of the Oklahoma Messages Project, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Current followers engage more on Facebook than the other social media platforms. Posts that included links and photos led to the most engagement.
There are a few notable results that when we pulled this data regarding the social media presence and messaging, we determined that the larger audience is available for the nonprofit on Facebook. From what we recall, the Oklahoma Messages Project was trying to grow their Instagram and Twitter presence. We would advise against this and place the majority of their efforts on Facebook, since there's a stronger desire for interaction on the nonprofit's Facebook outlet. Regarding the messages that were being posted, we expected to see more personal stories from the volunteers about their work for the nonprofit. If the nonprofit were to give a spotlight to certain volunteers, we believe that volunteers would be more likely to share their experiences with the nonprofit because people love talking about themselves. Current volunteers would also be more likely to talk about their experiences if they're being recognized on a public platform. There are a few factors that we encountered that we believe may have limited the scope of our results. By not conducting formal focus groups, we believe that our stakeholder feedback regarding the current state of the nonprofit was not as detailed as we would have liked. It would be beneficial to have the candid information provided by a conventional focus group. For the focus groups and interviews, there was a limited pool of participants who were not all receptive to providing the information for the research. This decreased the number of opinions and limited the information that Crimson and Creativity had access to. So key perspectives might have been left out in the process, and the limitations for the focus groups is where some of the contacts were not receptive to our communications as well. The limitations for the surveys were that some of the people didn't complete the survey due to how long it took to be completed. The surveys also had a limited reach due to the method of distribution when it was a bunch of college kids posting the survey link on their social media outlets. The limitations for the content analysis were that Crimson Creativity was unable to analyze some of the Twitter posts after 8 months due to the fact that Twitter only displays a certain number given the profile's previous tweets. This is possible to do an advanced search for the tweets, but since we were doing an inventory of the content that was posted, that wouldn't help us very much. To raise community awareness, there are a lot of people who would love and respect the mission of the organization, but have no idea it exists. That should be the primary objective of the organization, to go for some free publicity on your local paper or radio, the evening news, or some Facebook promotional posts. Providing more information to donation and volunteer information. Many of our interviews and data show that not enough people know how to get involved or how to donate to the Oklahoma Messages Project. If more direct information were provided, like links to a volunteer website or a link to a donation website, and social media posts, people would be more likely to engage with the nonprofit as a result. And adapt to social media practices by focusing more on your Facebook presence. The Oklahoma Messages Project will get the most out of the interaction and exposure for their time and efforts. Crimson Creativity would also advise that the Oklahoma Message Project hire an individual employee or intern to manage the press releases, social media, and general communications. It will help make the messages more consistent and reduce confusion.
Crimson and Creativity thanks you for watching this presentation, and we hope that you will take our research and conclusions into consideration. Thank you.